This is an old computer, an old DOS computer. I had one of these when I was a kid. I used it to play computer games. I don't have one now, though. I wish I did, for that authentic retro PC gaming nostalgia, but I don't. But I do have a Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. I wonder, can this fill the void in my heart and give me that nostalgic DOS games fix? Well, yeah, it can. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made this video. Come on now. Hello, I'm TechDweeb. How you doing? Thank you for clicking on the video. There are some things that get better with time. Whiskey. I don't drink whiskey. Blue jeans. I don't wear blue. Only black and orange. Leather boots. I don't have boots. Cheese. I can't eat dairy. It hurts my tummy. Wine. Nope. Antiques. They're okay. Trees. Yeah, trees are cool, I guess. And friendships. Oh, that's a big nope on that one. This one friend I had, my buddy Ruben, I thought he was my buddy. He turned out to be a huge jerk. Deleted my World of Warcraft account, the freaking bastard. I got him back though. I set his desktop wallpaper to a picture of a butt. My butt. And I wrote Ruben sucks on it. You mess with the dweeb, you get the butt. What was this video about again? Things that get better with time. Oh yeah, DOS games. They're one of those things. When I played DOS games back in the day, they were just like some games that I played on my computer, whatever. But now, going back and playing old DOS games that I used to play on a PC is like traveling through time, back to the late 80s, early 90s. It's like I get to go back and hang out with little TechDweeb and enjoy the things that he used to enjoy and pretend that I'm a kid again, without all these adult worries, like working and paying bills. I mean, I don't do either of those things, but you probably do. So maybe play some DOS games and quit taking life so seriously. So as you probably guessed by this point, today we're going to turn the RP3 Plus into an old DOS PC. And I'm going to show you how. Oh, and this isn't just for the RP3 Plus, by the way. Any Android device will do this. We're doing it on the RP3 Plus today. That's going to be our DOS machine. And I don't mean like we're going to run DOS games through Retroarch with the RP3 Plus's modern controls, the same way that you would play Super Mario 3. I mean, you can do that, and I'll show you how in a minute, actually. But the single most bestest reason I wanted to make this video is because we can get a way more authentic experience playing DOS games on this thing. I'm talking a nearly 100% legit full DOS experience. We're going to basically completely convert this thing into a DOS PC with a full DOS shell using a keyboard and mouse, loading up your games the same way that you used to do back in the day. No floppy drive, unfortunately. Oh my god, I just realized it might actually be possible to use a USB floppy drive and actually load games from a floppy. I should have bought one for this video. That would be next level, man. I'll leave that up for you to try, if you think you're better than me. But this setup that we have right here is basically a full retro PC gaming experience. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to show you how to play DOS games on the RP3 Plus, the easy way, where you don't need any of this stuff. And then I'm going to show you how to do it the less easy, but still pretty darn easy, but way cooler way, where we hook up a mouse and a keyboard and play these games the way they were meant to be played. And then at the end, I have a fun surprise for you to take it to the next level. So stick around to the end of the video because I'm proud of this one. But first, let's do the easy way. The easy way is just to use Retroarch for your DOS games. You can launch the games either through a front-end launcher like Dig or the Daigisho launcher, or just launch them manually right through Retroarch. You'll need a DOSBox core for Retroarch. I suggest you download the DOSBox Pure core. Now, as for the games, here's the good news. Lots of DOS games are totally free. They're what's called abandonware, which means that the companies that made the games no longer exist, or the licenses have expired, or the developers released them to the public, or they're all dead, and the games are just totally legal to download and play because nobody cares. I'll link to a website where you can download DOS games for free in the description below. And for those that aren't free, you don't need to go hunting through sketchy ROM sites to find them because you can just buy them from websites like GOG. And even for the games that aren't free, you can download what's called the shareware versions. It's like an old way of doing like demos, you know, a portion of the game that's free, but But the cool thing is that oftentimes the shareware version is like the entire first episode of the game. So you could totally just play that and have a great time. That's what I did when I was a kid. I just had a floppy case full of shareware games. I'm getting off topic. There's no one single way to load up the games in DOSBox. Sometimes you could load up the zip file and it'll just work. For example, here with Indiana Jones, Fate of Atlantis, I can just load the zip, select the DOSBox Pure Core, and boom, there we go. And real quick while we're here, the way this works is you can set up the controls to be either a PC gamepad, which most games did not support, or you could set up the controls as a keyboard, or you could set them up as a mouse on the left analog stick. So since this game is a mouse game, let's do that. And there we go. We're moving Indiana Jones around. Walking around, Indiana Jones, explore the world, and we're playing a fun game with a mouse. Easy stuff. Now, some games don't work if you try to load them with a zip. For example, here in Terminal Velocity, it doesn't load if we load the zip. So we have to unzip this file using the file browser on our device. Just go in there, find your zip, and select extract, and put it in a folder instead. You know how to do this kind of stuff. And then when we choose our game, we're not looking for the zip. We're going to go into that folder and look for the game executable file. Each game will have different file names and stuff, so just look for a .exe file that matches the name of the game. In this case, it's tv.exe. And boom, we're up and running. And in this case, the controls work right away. And if I go into the controller setting, you can see that the device type is detected automatic key mapping, which means that DOSBox knows what the best controls are for this game. And it'll just be ready to play right away. See, check it out. I'm playing Terminal Velocity without a care in the world, using the joysticks to move, trigger buttons to shoot, the face buttons for my in-game options. It works great. But some games won't have any controls set up in any way, and you'll need to set up those yourself. It's a little bit tedious, but if there is a DOS game you really want to play and the generic keyboard or mouse bindings aren't good enough, you can go through the controls list and set any button on the RP3 Plus to any keyboard or mouse or joystick command. Oh, and some games will need you to type something or press some key on the keyboard that isn't bound to the controls. So just press in on the left thumbstick and you'll get a little mini keyboard popping out, and you could type stuff or press buttons there. Oh, sheesh. That was actually a ton of info. Well, I hope you found that helpful if you wanted to use that method. But it's not super authentic, to be honest. It's not why I wanted to make this video. You can't just plug in a mouse and keyboard that way. For lots of reasons that I won't get into, but just trust me. Using a mouse and keyboard in DOS games run through Retroarch is not going to work the way you'd want it to. If you want a true retro PC DOS experience, then you'll need to use a different app that I love. It's called Magic DosBox. Magic DosBox. It's my favorite app for running a DOSBox shell in Android. You can download the light version for free to try it out, and you can actually totally just use the free light version. You don't need to pay for the full version. The only thing that's locked is the ability to add multiple game profiles, but as I'll show you, that's not actually going to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. You can still load up whatever games you want. However, this app is freaking amazing. It's one of my new favorite Android apps. It's obviously made by a true old school PC game lover, and it has so many options and care put into the emulation that I highly suggest buying the full version for $3.50. Not only because you get multiple DOS instances unlocked, which can come in handy, but also you're supporting an amazing developer who's making an amazing product for us. And as we learned from the Aether SX2 debacle, supporting the people who make the emulators we love is definitely worth doing. So, Magic DosBox is a DOS emulator that has some great quality of life features. I'm not going to go super in depth here in this video. I've used it a ton over the last few weeks, and I've gone through so much of the menus and the options, trying out every little thing. There's a lot that I could talk about, and I should probably do an entire video just on Magic DosBox. I might do that actually. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. An in-depth Magic DosBox advanced tutorial. Today, I'm just going to show you the basics of how to get up and running with your DOS games and play them with an authentic feeling DOS shell. Now, you can set up the controls the same way that they're done in DOSBox through Retroarch to use the joysticks and the face buttons. Again, I'm not going to show you how to do that today. That would take too long. Today is all about the authentic PC DOS experience. And you can't have a classic PC DOS experience without a keyboard and maybe a mouse. That's optional though. Lots of old PC games were keyboard only, but you can mouse it up for those mousy games if you really want to. You can either use a USB-C hub adapter thing to connect up your wired USB devices, the keyboard and mouse, to the RP3 Plus. But honestly, it's just so much easier to use a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. And that's why I have this, the Logitech Pop keyboard and mouse that I reviewed recently on the channel. I bought it because I needed a new Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and also it's freaking orange that matches the RP3 Plus. Well, kinda yellow, I guess. Retroid calls this orange. Well, whatever. It's an orangey yellow, but my keyboard and mouse matches it. And yeah, I know you're super jealous right now that I have a matching keyboard and mouse and RP3 Plus. That's a you problem though. I can't help you fight those demons. Actually, scratch that. Yes, I can. You can buy this too, I guess. I'll include a link to this keyboard and mouse combo in the description below, so that way you don't have to be jealous. It comes in other colors too. So all we have to do is connect up our keyboard and mouse through Bluetooth and they're ready to go. Nothing too fancy there. But before we can get DOSing it up, we need to set up Magic DosBox. The way this works is you create a new game, we'll just call ours DOS, and then in here you can choose a folder on your device for that game. But here's the thing, if you make a game folder and put each of your games in their own folders within your game folder, and then point Magic DosBox to that folder as the game folder, that will be your C drive. And then you'll be able to load up any of your games in that folder while you have DOS launched, just as if you had them all installed on the C drive of a computer. I'll show you that in a minute. Magic DosBox can be weird with permissions, so I just put my games folder in the Magic DosBox installation folder to avoid any issues. I'll show the path on the screen if you want to do what I did. I highly suggest you just use a computer to download your games, unzip them into their own folders, set their names, and then copy them over to your RP3 Plus to your games folder in the location that I just mentioned. Just because it's way easier to organize everything on a computer. One little quirk with using DOS for navigation, make sure your game folder names are less than 8 characters. That's something that we had to do back in the DOS days, so you might as well do that here, because DOS gets weird when you have really long file names. So, with our keyboard and mouse connected, and our games folder full of games, each organized into their own separate folders, and Magic DosBox set up with a custom games that's pointed at our games folder, we're ready to rock. Late 80s, early 90s style.
When I wake up in the morning and the alarm gets out of warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time.
So, start up your game, and you'll be greeted by DOS. This is just straight up DOS. Check it out. You can navigate using DOS commands. More on that in a minute. You can view your directories, change directories, start your games, play your games with your mouse and keyboard, and the experience is, for all intents and purposes, the same as if you were playing on a DOS PC. Oh, hang on. I can't show you this setup on this tiny little screen. Let's take this to the next level. And plug in my monitor via the HDMI port on the RP3 Plus, and holy crap. Holy crap, you guys. This is amazing. This is actually just like having a real old dusty DOS PC at your fingertips. For those of you who, like me, used a DOS PC back in the day, if you had a 286 or a 386 with a monochrome or Tandy or EGA monitor, a 40 megabyte hard drive with a big chunky keyboard and a rollerball mouse that had to be cleaned out twice a freaking day, you'll feel right at home here. And if you didn't experience the DOS era of PCs because you weren't even born yet, well, you're in luck, because I'm going to give you a 2-minute crash course on how to use DOS right now. Oh my God, you are so freaking lucky. I spoil you. You know that? So, for you babies who have never touched a DOS prompt, here's the basics. This, what you see right here, is DOS. You see that little line at the bottom, C:\\/ angle bracket? That's your DOS prompt, and it tells you that you're in the root level of the C drive. We don't want to be in the root level of our C drive though, we want to be in a game directory. The command for viewing the directory is dir. It stands for something. I forget what it stands for. but it lets you view what's in the directory. But as you can see, there are so many folders in here. I have so many games that they don't all fit on the screen at once. So let's add a command line argument. That's dir/w. There we go, much more readable. So let's go into a directory, shall we? The command to change directory is cd. It stands for something, I forget. But it lets you change the directory. I'm going to change the directory by pressing cd space and the name of one of my game directories. Let's go with War2. That's the directory that I named for Warcraft 2. We can see by the DOS prompt that our current directory is War2. Now we want to start up the executable file for our game. What file is that? dir/w, and that's a lot of files. Maybe we can find our executable file in here? It's usually a .exe file. Man, if only there was a way to view only the exe files in this directory. Oh wait, there is. We could just do our directory listing command, dir/w space.exe. Now we just need to choose which one that we think is the exe to start our game. There's a few in here, but let's use our big brains and assume that it's the same name as our directory, war2.exe. So we'll just type war2. We don't need to type the .exe, by the way. And hey, look at that. We started up Warcraft 2. But hang on, I changed my mind. I don't want to play Warcraft 2. I want to play Duke Nukem 3D. So let's exit Warcraft 2 and wait. We're still in the Warcraft 2 directory. Oh, that's not going to work. We need to go back one level in our folder structure by typing cd ... This will go back one level. So if we were like 10 folders deep, we'd have to type that 10 times. Or you could just type cd / and that'll take you back to the root level of the drive. Either is fine. So let's open Duke 3D, dir/w, cd space Duke 3D, dir/w, and let's add the .exe to make our search easier, duke3d.exe. We'll type that and boom, there we go. We're in the game. One more thing, if I want to exit right out of this entire DOS instance, all we need to do is exit the game to get back to the DOS prompt and then type the exit command. This will close this DOS instance and take us back to the Magic DosBox interface. It might seem cumbersome and uncouth, but hey, this is how we used to do it back in the day. And this is how I like to do it now. Not because it's the easiest way to do it or even the funnest way to do it, but it's the most authentic way to do it. It makes me feel like I'm using my old PC. And as clunky as it is, I just love the nostalgia. If I'm playing DOS games, it just feels right that I should be loading them using DOS itself. Now, as for the controls and the compatibility, well, it generally works just the way you'd expect it to. Just treat it like a DOS PC. Your keyboard will be the main way that you navigate your games. All the key bindings will be different in each game because that's the way these DOS games were. Here in Hexen, I need to use the keypad to move and turn. Alt is strafe, control is shoot. Pretty standard keyboard-based controls. And then there are games that use a mouse, like Warcraft 2. Here we are using our mouse. It's good to go. And now there are a few quirks to using the mouse in Magic DosBox. First, you may notice that you have a cursor for the Android system rather than the DOS system. That's because this is still an Android device. And if you wanted to say swipe down to your navigation bar, you could do that. But sometimes you want the cursor to be bound in the DOS game instead of in the system. So the way you do that is super simple. You just give a quick scroll down on the mouse wheel. This will snap between a system cursor and a DOS cursor. This only works in Magic DosBox, by the way. It doesn't work like this in Retroarch. It's one of the many reasons why Magic DosBox is a much more authentic DOS experience. Another important mouse function is scrolling up on the mouse wheel. This will bring up the Magic DosBox in-game options. I'll show you these in a minute, but if this comes up while you're trying to play the game, you can just close the window and then give a quick scroll down to snap your cursor into the DOS game, and then you'll be good to go. Now let's go back to that Magic DosBox in-game menu by using the mouse wheel. You can also swipe from the edge of the screen on the left, by the way. There's lots of stuff in here, but there are two main areas that I wanted to show you right now. This frame skip menu will let you set the frame skip for your DOS instance. I believe that this is set at a frame skip of 2 by default. You can change this in the config for your custom DOS game that you created, but it's more complicated. So for now, I'll just show you that you can open this in-game menu to turn the frame skip down to 0 to get much smoother frame rates. Also, you can use this menu to access the filter settings. The default is usually my preferred, but there are some others that you might want to try. You can set it to monochrome amber screen. My first DOS PC had an amber screen, and I like toggling this on a few select games that I used to play like this for the nostalgic factor. You can also enable upscaling if you're into that sort of thing. The main thing that I use this for is in games that have resolutions that don't perfectly match the RP3 Plus's resolution, and we get some weird pixelization. For example, here in Warcraft 2, the fog of war is all checkerboarded. It's not supposed to look like that, so I turn on linear filtering in this game because it smooths it out. That's all I'm going to bother showing you about the technical side of things because there's more to show, but I don't want to make this video about the nitty-gritty stuff. It's just about how to get started, and now you have everything in your brain that you need right now to dive in and start playing DOS games on your Android-based device like the RP3 Plus. Initially, I wanted to show you a bunch of my favorite DOS games in this video, and take a little trip down memory lane and show you some of the games that I played when I was a little dweeb. But honestly, this video already turned out to be longer than I initially planned. So I've taken all the stuff that I was going to talk about with the games themselves, and I've outlined a video specifically to show you just the games. A video about my favorite DOS games, none of the technical stuff. So get subscribed if you haven't yet, so you don't miss that. But remember that I said I have a special surprise for you? Well, there's one thing that I need to show you, but it will require me to show you one specific game. So let's quickly talk about one of my all-time favorite DOS games, Descent. So let me set the scene for you in your mind. See, back in this era of gaming, the concept of true 3D graphics was very new. By this point, we'd all played Wolfenstein 3D or Doom, which sort of faked a 3D effect. But when Descent came along, it was like next level 3D. Not only did it have truly 3D environments and 3D models for the enemies and the objects, but it also allowed full 3D movement in the world itself. I had never experienced that before. It was like a glimpse into the future, like flying a hovercraft around inside a 3D maze world, shooting at real 3D enemies. That blew our minds, man, and it looked so good. I mean, it doesn't look like much by today's standards in terms of graphical fidelity, but I still think that the art style and design of this game holds up today. I think it looks cool, but at the time, it was like mind-blowing. But the problem with this game, at least for me, was that it was hard to play. This was before the standard practice of using a mouse and a keyboard to play a game. Descent used two sets of controls on the keyboard. One for aiming up, down, left, and right, and another set for moving forward, back, up, down, left, and right. And then there was shooting, two kinds of weapons, and using a 3D map to navigate the levels, which were like huge mazes. It was hard. I actually had to play this with my buddy, Pierre, a Frenchman from Quebec. We double team it. I take the ship movement controls and the navigation, and he'd take the aiming and the shooting controls. It was like pilot and co-pilot, if the pilots were sweaty nerds with cheesy fingers. And we made our way through the game like this. It was the only way that we could think of doing it. But then you guys, Pierre got something that changed the game forever. He got a joystick. Just a simple old school PC joystick, but that thing made it possible to play this game without needing two hands on a keyboard and a bunch of complicated controls to memorize. You could just have a hand on the keyboard for movement and a hand on the joystick for aiming and shooting. It was glorious. It felt so natural. The perfect way to play this game. So, what's my special surprise? Well, does this answer your question? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Not only am I mad enough to hook a keyboard and mouse and monitor up to my RP3 Plus to basically turn it into a PC, I'm also going to attach a freaking joystick to it as well. I'm just going to use this USB-C to USB-A adapter. Plug in the USB joystick. It did require some configuring in the in-game menu. Magic DosBox has this voodoo control section of the options where you can bind any input to any mouse or keyboard function. It's easy to do, but check this out. I'm playing Descent on DOS with a keyboard and a joystick, and I'm in absolute TechDweeb retro PC DOS heaven right now. I mean, it's not crazy complicated or anything, but I'm just so proud of this because I turned something from my childhood into a real possibility. And all it took was turning my RP3 Plus into a Frankenstein monster of a retro handheld. I really want to show you more DOS games, but that'll have to wait for the other video because this one's already gone on too long. I just want to pique your interest here. Yeah, because these games, the DOS games that you can play on here, they don't get a lot of attention in the retro gaming community or the PC gaming community. They're largely forgotten, except for a few niche YouTube channels in the dark, weird corners of the internet. And even these retro emulation devices seem to toss in DOS as an afterthought. But I'm here to tell you that these games, these DOS games, are among the greatest retro games ever made. They're absolute classics, right up there with Mario and Sonic. There are lots of duds, like there are on any old system. But if you do a little research, a little Googling, find the best DOS games and give them a try, I promise you that most of the good ones have stood the test of time and are not only playable by modern standards, but they're actually better than lots of the games that you're playing right now. These are the games that gave birth to PC gaming as we know it. And you owe it to yourself to experience this piece of history. And you can on the RP3 Plus or your Android phone or whatever Android device you have. All you need to do is download Magic DosBox, grab a couple DOS games, however you want to get them, hook up a USB or Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, and use a handy guide like this one to learn the basic DOS commands, and just freaking dive into the dawn of PC gaming and experience these unique, special, amazing games because they don't make them like this anymore. And that brings us to the end. What do you think of this setup? Is it cool? Stupid? Am I a genius or a fool? I mean, we all know I'm a fool, but am I extra foolish for adding a freaking joystick to my RP3 Plus? I actually don't answer that. But more importantly, in anticipation for my upcoming DOS games video, what are your favorite DOS games? Any favorites that you'd like me to check out? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, or don't if you didn't. Thank you so much to my patrons on Patreon. You guys freaking rock. If you'd like to support me on Patreon to help me do the things that I do, please check out the link in the description below. Well, that's it for me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.